Women Innovators. Interviews with women with big messages and big missions, sharing their stories to inspire you to live your passion and step up to make the world a better place. Here's your host, Tami Patzer.
Hi, this is Tami Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, speaker, best-selling author, coach, and consultant, Gail Dixon. Gail is founder and chief message master of Masterful Messaging. Gail guides people in giving voice to their vision and crafting powerful messages that generate powerful results. For more than 30 years, she has helped people to name, frame, and claim the verbal expression of their personal and business identities. With a unique gift of listening between the lines, Gail is recognized as a top expert and trusted authority for creating compelling and authentic brand and personal messaging. She is a certified public speaker through Women's Prosperity Network and a lead coach in their community. Welcome, Gail.
Thank you so much for having me, Tami. I'm glad to be here.
This is really an exciting topic, helping people to name, frame, and claim their business identities. So let's talk a little bit about that. So being able to state your marketing position or competitive point of difference is really essential to business success. What makes for a really successful marketing position?
Well, a successful marketing position makes your ideal client say two things. The first is, that's what I need. And the second one is, and that's where I want to buy it.
Wow. So what do you do to help people to create their marketing position?
Well, I really take people through a 3-step formula to create a clear and concise marketing position statement. And I call those 3 steps: name it, claim it, frame it, and claim it. And when I use this system, we get to an elevator speech or a marketing statement that sets people apart from their competition and positions them as the leader of the pack in their field.
I really like that, because when you talk about being concise and having this simple 3-step formula, so you've got name it, frame it, claim it, or name it, claim it, frame it, however you want to describe it. Let's start with the first one, name it. What exactly are we naming?
Well, when we name it, we're talking first about the who. Who are you, and who is your target client? Think, for example, if I asked you, who are you, Tami, and who is your target client? What would you tell me?
Ooh, so who am I? So I would say that, of course, I'm Tami Patzer, and I help you create Blue Ocean Authority so you become the only choice in all the sea of possibility for your product or your services.
Great. So I would say that when you are naming that, using your own name, absolutely important. And then, what I didn't hear is, who is your ideal client in that name it. So, it may be, I'm Tami Patzer. I help people who are looking to enhance their visibility, broaden their influence, and make big changes in the world, whatever that is. But you want to talk about who is your client.
Oh, okay. So, for example, I help authors professionals and experts who want to be seen and heard and make more impact, have more influence, and make more income, more along those lines?
Absolutely. And then when you say that, I think, at some point in your positioning, you want to perhaps play off the blue ocean and talk about, I work with authors, speakers, and thought leaders who want to make a big splash in the world.
Ooh, I like that.
So you see that? So that's where we tie in your blue ocean to making a splash. So that's the kind of naming we want to do. We want to make sure that we tie who you're looking at and who your target market is to how you name yourself and how you name your brand and what you say. So that's the name it part.
Okay, and then framing it. This is very interesting to me because I love the fact how you're breaking this down, and I'm really happy we're using me as an example. So in my positioning statement that I just stated, obviously I think I'm framing it, but am I? Tell me more about how we frame.
So here's where we talk about the what. What exactly do you offer, your product or service, and what sets you apart? So what you started talking about with the framing to me, this is where, with the naming to me, this is where we might talk about that kind of, I help people, I work with social media or multiple media channels and routes of influence to help people increase their impact, broaden their visibility, whatever. But it's the what. So what you do is let's work with what's the frame.
Okay.
You know who we're talking about. People who want to make a big splash. So now what's the frame?
So what I'm really focusing on is what I call beyond the bestseller, with the Blue Ocean Authority to help them to gain to be seen and heard, to gain more impact, influence, and income via my marketing systems that take them beyond the bestseller. And I'm really happy to be talking about this because this is something I'm actually working on in real life, trying to make a statement about, well, how do I tell them what that means? What does it mean to take it beyond the bestseller? Because people, for example, we write a book, we become an international best-selling author, and then where I want to take it is to the now what? Now what do we do with this status?
Exactly.
So that's what I need help with.
Right. So I would talk about I create or implement systems or processes that leverage a client's bestseller into that income impact, whatever. So that, so create more, what did you say? Income impact and
influence, impact, and income.
Right.
And I also talk a lot about reach, authority, credibility, celebrity, and expert status, which that actually it comes out to the word race, like the race to the top. I do talk a lot about that when I do actual presentations, where I can actually visually show somebody what I'm talking about, which obviously what I do lends itself to being very visual. But again, you really do have to have a 30-second to 60-second message so people go, oh, that's what she does. I have people all the time. They say, well, what exactly do you do? And it's funny because I'm like, oh, crap, I have to try to figure this out. And this is, I love this because for the audience listening, this is a really good example of how you could help them come up with their
exactly.
Name it, frame it, claim it, because it is it's a conversation and it's a brainstorming. And, you know, as you're talking, we're talking back and forth and we're literally going, well, it could be this, it could be this. And then, of course, it's growing. So that's really exciting. So what I need to do for my framing is I really have to get it down to what exactly do I offer, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then,
what do you offer?
And then once I have that,
claim,
I need to claim
it. Right, and the claim is where I would use your 3 I's phrase, the influence, impact, and income. That's in the claiming part.
Because that's the result.
That's the result they get. And that's their, you know, that's what they're coming to you because I have this bestseller, but it's not getting me on more stages. It's not getting me media appearances. It's not putting more money in my pocket. So how do I, you know, I've done the work. I've written the book. I launched my campaign, but now I'm not leveraging that into what it's supposed to get for me. So I'm,
right.
You know, whether it's I'm not as well known as I want to be, I'm not as in demand as I want to be, or I'm not earning as much as I want. Those are the pain points that bring a client to you.
Right.
You know, I did what I was supposed to do. I wrote the book. I got it to bestseller, but I'm not getting the goodies from what that was supposed to bring me.
Right.
So that, you know, influence, impact, income is exactly what they don't have that they want. So that's your claim.
Right.
Use my system, follow my strategies, I'll teach you, and the result for you will be this.
Right. And that's really interesting because some of my clients, they want that and they want it all done for them, which I do offer that service, but then I also do it done with you. So in this particular part of the marketing position, the name it, frame it, claim it, really it's just a very short, like pique your interest type of thing. And then obviously later I would have the conversation about, well, here's what we can do to leverage your status and your fame that you've created, but how do you want to do it? Because obviously we can do it 100% online, for example, with press releases and podcasts, or of course we can take you out and do a full-blown television, radio, media tour where you literally show up in TV stations across the nation. Or even around the world.
Right. And
so it's big what you can do.
Right. And again, that is a later conversation.
Okay.
Because remember, in the positioning, in the marketing positioning statement, you're looking to answer 2 questions, or have the client say, do 2 things. Say, that's me, and you've done that I work with people who want to make a big splash. That's me. I'll raise my hand. Yes, I want to make a big splash in my field. And then the next part is, why do they want to hire you? Because they get more influence, impact, and income when they hire you to make their big splash. So you see how we tie in the naming and the claiming. That's getting them to stand there and raise hands. It's what brought people to stand in line at your booth at the unconference, because they heard you talk about it and they said, yes, that's what I need. This is my next step. And so that's what you want a marketing position statement to do. So it's, I love Seth Godin's work. He's a marketing and sales and business expert. And he says, if you can't state your position in 8 words or less, you don't have a position.
Wow, 8 words. Woohoo!
And, I think I bow to the fact that I do not have Seth's brilliance. And I think if we can do it in 12 words or less, we're good to go. But if you started for you with naming, I work with individuals and business owners who want to make a big splash by doing this so that they get more influence, impact, and income. That would be your marketing statement.
Okay, and
so
just
we need to tweak in that frame a little bit, but we've got the front end and the back end.
And you just literally gave the formula right there in that statement, because the I help to get so that or something like that.
I help people through doing this so they get that. That's the formula. I help these kinds of people through doing this to get this.
So then when we name it, frame it, and claim it, we're going to end up, like you said, if we're lucky, like Seth Godin says, 8 words, but you're saying if you can do it in 12, you're doing really well. So we're basically just coming up with 1 or 2 sentences that are going to make the case like a snap judgment, so people will want to work with us.
Yes.
And
what I find often is that people want to describe what they do, but you describe what you do once someone has already made a decision to work with you.
Right.
First,
okay, that makes sense.
You have to get them to the yes, you have what I want and I want to buy it from you.
Right.
And, I see a lot of people when they talk about marketing, it's like, well, I want to, influence people to eat healthy. And then they talk about their marketing and they try to persuade people that healthy eating is a good thing. And it's like, that's a real uphill struggle. Maybe you want to start with people who've made a decision to eat healthy and want to know which things are going to get them the biggest health improvement for their health.
That actually happened with me with a weight loss coach. It was very interesting because she told me what I needed to eat and everything, but she gave me eat a bunch of these vegetables. Well, I'm not a real big vegetable eater, so I had to go, okay, out of all these vegetables, which ones will I actually eat? Because, if you're not naturally a vegetable eater, you may or may not really go, oh, yummy vegetables. Because I grew up in a household where it was a lot of overcooked canned things, vegetables.
Yeah,
so I like fresh vegetables, but unless I get it into my mind that I don't have to eat overcooked, mushy vegetables, I have to make that transition. So you're absolutely right. And she said, oh, if I had realized that you weren't a big vegetable eater, I would have talked to you in a different way about how to add the vegetables into it. And I think you're right. When sometimes we also try to, when we meet somebody, for example, at WPN Unconference, huge event, 400 people or more, very fast-paced, lots of movement. There's no way that you can have a decent conversation with anyone in that type of environment. So you really do have to come up with something very short.
Right. You have to have that quick statement. And, both for you and for the potential client, because what you also need to do as the business person or the business owner or the person who's prospecting for clients is you need to be able to weed out the folks who are not your ideal client. You're at the point in your business that you only have a certain amount of space to take on new clients, and you want to take on the clients who are ideally positioned to make the best use of your talents to get the best results for them.
Yes, and that goes for everyone. Exactly. Even in the beginning, that was a big mistake I made. That 2020 hindsight is I used to work with anybody who wanted to work with me. And that meant that I had a jeweler, an AC guy, I had a contractor, I had all kinds of clients, but that meant I had to learn about their business. And it took a lot of time and energy when if I had honed down my ideal client to begin with and maybe only focused on, let's say, plastic surgeons or authors or whoever it was, I would have grown and been successful faster than it took me. Let's just say that I'm going into year 8, and the last year and a half has been when I finally figured it out. So when you say, and you're clear, you've now narrowed down to you work with authors, speakers, and thought leaders who want to make a big splash. Yes.
By doing this to get to that. So now instead of I work with anybody who wants to be big in their field, you've narrowed down to 3 types of people who have lots in common. The mechanisms for promoting those people are very much the same. The routes of influence are very much the same. So you restrict your learning curve, and you're dealing in your unique sphere of influence. And that's what makes, that's the difference between people being really successful and continuing to push the boulder up the hill in their business, not quite landing in their sweet spot. And so the better you can do this name, frame, and claim process in your positioning, it makes it clear for you as well as clear for your potential clients.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. I wanted to ask you some other questions about your background, because you have, like I read in your bio, more than 30 years of experience, and what you've done is very let's just say rare, and many people think, anybody can write copy, anybody can create messages. Well, as people have heard from our beginning conversation about the name it, frame it, claim it, this is not just something that comes naturally to all of us. And I admitted, hey, it took me years to figure out exactly who I was and how to use my natural talents and abilities and my work experience in the media to bring it out to help other people. So tell me a little bit more, Gail, about how you envision your work impacting other people, and who is your ideal client?
Great. Well, my ideal client is someone with a big mission or a big message who is looking for the way to make that connection, to bring voice to their vision so that they can bring that vision to reality. And I do that through the power of their master message. So
the master message. Now I really am starting to now I'm getting it. It's like Tami, ding, 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 ding. Masterful messaging. Okay. So what do you think, and I think I'm a prime example of someone who has some problems, they might not even be real issues related to coming up with what I need to say. What would you say that are some problems that most people who are looking to create this masterful or master message, what are their issues? What's stopping them?
I think a couple of things. One is they have a great service or idea, but they're not consistently connecting with the person who's the right target for their service or idea. Sometimes when you have something that you're really excited about, you want everybody to have it. But the truth is what you have is not for everybody. So you have to get clear about who you're aiming at. And then the next thing is you have this great idea, but you don't have words to describe it that will stay in the mind of the listener. Stick in the mind. One of the things that we think about in terms of crafting a master message is, I want to help you create the word song that's the earworm that people can't get out of their head. So, you think about, of all the music you've heard in your life, there are things that stick in your head and you remember the words or you remember the tune and it plays through your brain. And that's what I do with words. So I use several techniques with that. One is to make it music, to make it rhythmic, so that name it, frame it, claim it. You hear a rhythm in that, and that will stick in somebody's mind. Another is to use the sound of something. So sometimes using alliteration, like masterful messaging. Those two M sounds will stick in somebody's brain. So we find the words that express the essence, but also have that resonance and rhythm so that they will stick in people's heads. Most often, people use too many words to talk about what they want to talk about. And it's important to be able, this is not a case where more is better. If someone remembers, think about, for example, I think about somebody like Nancy Matthews, who talks about, I'm the visionary with guts. That tells you everything you need to know about Nancy. You learn more and more about her position, but if that's all she said, you would know that she's a person with a big idea, a big vision, a big plan for the world, and she has the courage to play it out. So you want to find those words that are so expressive of the essence of your identity that people, I sometimes am known as the writing wizard or the word wizard. If I tell you I'm Gail Dixon, I'm the word wizard, you know what to come to me for. I started off my academic career as a speech and foreign language major. So I have always been intrigued with and connected to the power of words. And through my career, I have just learned to use words in ways that make me a magnifier for what other people want to do. And that really is my intention. I have this unique ability to harness the power of words, and I want to use that ability to further the missions and the messages that will change the world and change the world for the better.
Wow, Gail Dixon, word wizard. And I think that's true. And we are on a very similar mission. And that reminds me that you're actually, you have a chapter in one of my upcoming books with Leisha Berry, Big Mission, Big Message. And the cool thing about that is it's coming out very soon, and you share a lot of information about your big mission and big message. And you've also had some best-selling books, Masterful Messaging, Volume 1, Compelling Copy, I love that, and 2 compilation books, Journey to the Stage, Volume 1 by the Women's Prosperity Network, and 100 Voices of Inspiration, Awakening, and Empowerment. And you have a new book coming out in the Masterful Message Series, Change Talk, that'll be published in spring of 2018. So I know that the cool thing about you, Gail, is that you do have the power of the words. And the thing that I think is so important that people understand about messaging is that, like you said, they have to command attention, create connection, and ignite impact. And I stole those words from you because I thought those were so powerful. Command attention, such a strong 2 words. Create connection, ignite impact, very powerful action words, and yet they're just short little statements that do create, like what you called the earworm, where inside your head, I'm listening to different things you've said, and they do. It's like they get those alliterations, masterful messaging. It gets inside your head, and you just kind of play with it. So, what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about working with someone like you who is a word wizard?
Well, I think one is that the only time it's important to have help with your messaging is in written copy. Are you writing an ad or writing the text for your website? And not thinking about how important it is to be able to also craft your oral messaging, to be so skilled at delivering your master message that you can incorporate it into conversation with people. And I don't mean standing there in a stilted way and delivering your elevator speech, but in getting the words that express your essence so natural to flow through you in your messaging that it becomes who you are, and you are able to use those words in conversation and tie them together. So knowing how important your verbal and oral messaging is one misconception. And then sometimes people think that it's enough to have a great product or a great service, and that will speak for itself. And the truth is that without a powerful positioning statement, without a powerful statement that commands that attention for your potential customer or client, they may never get to your product or service. They may never sort through the 90 other people that do what you do who are in your space to get to yours. You know, it doesn't matter if you have the best light bulb unless you're the best light bulb that people see. You know, having the best light bulb on your shelf doesn't help you. They have to see your light bulb. They have to look at it. They have to get there. So just making sure that you concentrate as much on your message as you do on your product or service.
I think you're really right, because it's interesting, because there are a lot of people who do, for example, publishing and bestseller campaigns. And the one thing that makes what I do 100% different is the fact that I actually take it beyond the bestseller. And that is something that I really need to convey in my messaging right up front, because I've actually done presentations where people had a preconceived idea. They thought they knew what I did. And then when I actually do the presentation, they go, oh my goodness, what you do is way beyond the bestseller. Then they realize how different my services truly are. And that is something that it is really important to get into that initial conversation. And that's why I started to say beyond the bestseller, because at least it gives people a clue that there's something else besides the publishing and beyond the book. And I found that when I added that, then people do know that they better listen to me, or that there's something different, and so they will take the time to let me go deeper into that conversation. So exactly. I think that you're right on target. You have to shine your own light. And again, if you don't have that right message in the beginning, our competition, it's not just with people in our same business. We're competing with all the noise, everything that's out there. And it is difficult to stand out in that crowd. And that's why that natural sounding message, people, we talk about the elevator speech. We talk about, our 30-second, some people call it a snap. And I go, what in the world is that? And I guess it's some language they learned in some networking group or something. But the truth is you have to become your message, like what you said. It has to come out of you as being part of you, and so natural and true and honest and transparent and authentic, like Nancy Matthews, the visionary with guts. Very authentic, very true. She represents that statement. And so she is a good example. So,
exactly. And, that your phrase, beyond the bestseller, really, it has what I talked about in a resonant phrase. You have that alliteration, and it absolutely captures the essence. It says, it tells me that the bestseller is not the goal, it's the springboard.
Yes.
And that's what you're trying to convey to people.
Exactly.
So you've got that. That's a perfect phrase for what you do.
Great. Because that phrase, it developed over the having helped more than 64 people become international bestsellers, and it developed from, hey, Tami, what's next? What are we going to do next? And so it was like, oh, I've got to take it beyond the bestseller, and that's how that develops. So again, it is a process. I wanted to ask you, why is it that I know that people are shaking their head yes as they listen to this conversation, saying, yes, I need that. I need to name it. I need to frame it. I need to claim it. But why do you think that people stop themselves from creating these powerful messages that are both written and oral or spoken?
I think a couple of things. One, I think that people, when people hear really well done messages, they seem so fluid and easy that people think they can do it themselves. And the truth is that, like anything else, really masterful messaging takes some skill and some expertise. And so people settle for good enough messaging rather than masterful messaging. I also think people believe that it is way beyond their price point. And the truth is that it can be both very affordable and a significant return on investment.
Well, you know
when
what?
When you think about the value of getting one ideal client, if the words that I help you craft, help you land attract one ideal client to your highest level service, you've probably doubled or tripled what you would invest with me for messaging.
Right. And once you have this message, it could actually equate into not only one ideal client, but it could actually help you to become create a scalable company if that's what you choose. Because a message can become very valuable. That's why people trademark phrases, people trademark names, and because that becomes something, like you said, it becomes the worm in the ear, and people start to equate it with you. I actually have a trademark application on Beyond the Bestseller because I felt that it was something that I could really build my business on, because when I would go speak and I would have other publishers in the room talking about how they were going to help people write a book and become bestsellers, I looked at their programs. Every single one of them stopped at the bestseller campaign. And it was like, oh, I can take it beyond the bestseller. So we're talking about $1 million positioning statement. And I really believe that over time, when you have the right marketing position statement, you can make not just a few $1,000s, but you can actually take it into any level you choose. And so I would call it a $1 million marketing position statement. So Gail, if somebody wants to get with you and talk to you about working with you or to get more information, how can they do that?
They can go to my website, masterfulmessaging.com, or find me on LinkedIn, or find Masterful Messaging on Facebook. And I am happy to explore messaging needs from the small, as in I need a tagline or a headline, or a full master messaging package that really works through the name it, claim it, frame it process that I did with you, and then beyond into now where do we take those messages and how do we craft it. So I want to multiply the impact and the result that people are seeking by having them have the right words to really move beyond where they are now into where they want to be and fulfilling their missions in life.
Great. And everyone, think about it. Gail Dixon, she is a word wizard, and she could help with any messaging, like your website, a tagline, a signature speech. Maybe you need help, coming up with something bigger than just a elevator pitch or a 30-second or a 1-minute pitch. But you actually were witness today to how she was helping me to craft my message. As you could tell, I had parts of it, but she quickly was like, oh, you could do this, you could add this, and there we were crafting. I was naming it, framing it, and claiming it right here during this conversation. So that's phenomenal. So Gail, thank you so much. And just to let you know, I would love it if you would come back and we'll talk about your Masterful Message Series book, Change Talk, that's going to come out in spring of 2018. If you would
Wonderful. I'd
come
love
back,
to do it.
I would love to invite you to do that. So everybody, again, thank you, Gail, for all your time today.
Thank you so much, Tami. It was a pleasure.
This is Tami Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Women Innovators with Tami Patzer. To learn more, please go to womeninnovatorsradio.com. And please do subscribe and share to spread the big messages and big missions to change the world.